Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! The story takes place near the end of high school, when most students would be thinking about what to do next in life. There was a kid that would bully me and 7 other students of the school. Let's call him Jack. Jack had been bullying me for around 3 years, but I was too afraid to do anything about it, and it got to the point I was ready to get revenge on this guy. Thankfully, I was friends with the bully, and Jack's parents had gotten a divorce 4 years prior to this event, but Jenna still talked to her sister that lived with Jack and their mother. Jenna hated Jack with a passion, which meant she was all over this plan we made to get revenge. Jenna and I knew where Jack would hang out nearly every day while at school, so I had Jenna go to the vantage point where she could record me walking up to the bully. Since this spot was a blind area for school cameras, it's just what we had to do, and what Jack would do when I did that. Mostly pushing and kicking me, typical bully stuff, and I would use my phone to record audio. We did this for nearly 3 months to make sure we had plenty of evidence. Over 3 months, we discovered that I wasn't the only one being bullied. There were 7 other kids that Jack would bully, so we got all of them into the plan. At the end of the 3 months, Jenna and I had nearly 1 different videos and audio recordings of me and the 7 other kids being bullied by Jack. Once we had around a month before we finished high school, I gave all the recordings to the principal of the school and Jack's mother. This easily got him expelled from the school. Since it was around the time students would be applied to go to further education, college and so on, I had Jenna talk to her sister and find out where Jack had planned to go to after high school. I won't say where for privacy reasons, and once we found out, I sent all the recordings to the college he wanted to go to, which made them deny his application. This continued to the point where nearly every college that he could go to had denied his applications, and they had to move to another country just so Jack could have a future. The aftermath? Just before Jack and his mother moved to another country, Jack's mother gave possession of Jenna's sister to her father. I was talking to Jenna about it, and it turned out that Jack's mother was harassing Jenna's dad, and we didn't know. So our plan actually helped Jenna's father out as well. So I feel it was time I got this out there. This was definitely back in 2019, around the end of July. I had just gotten fired in May at Home Depot because this particular manager absolutely hated that I was doing as well as I was. But this is for another thread. I had gone into AT&T wireless headquarters where I live for a walk-in interview, which I nailed by the way, but beforehand I had gotten into a huge disagreement and a verbal fight with my own mother. Fast forward to after the interview, I was still shook up from the fight alone, and I decided to stop by the mall. I shopped around to just see what was around. Note that I was still in my interview clothes, a colored white button-up shirt, black dress pants, and the pink tie I wore at a funeral for my grandmother in 2015. It meant a lot to me, and the people at AT&T took this truly to heart and said they loved it. Cut to, as I was leaving, I suddenly felt a hand drip into my shoulder and yank me backwards. But I also heard a loud drip on my shoulder. Lo and behold, the first true Karen I ever had the displeasure to meet. Just before I could say anything, this is how things went.
You need to leave right now and never come back here. I don't even know how you got out of prison, but you should be locked away for what you did.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Do you want me to call the police? There are children here and you shouldn't be around them.
I don't know what the fungus growing from Shrek's toe you're talking about. Karen proceeded to yell at security while she pulled out her phone.
Watch this, pedo. I am calling the police because he shouldn't be around here when there is so many kids around.
She thought I was a pedophile because my bald head seemed to match it, but the rest of my body is at least twice as big as the criminal she thought I was. But the security guard said I should stay and give my side of the story to the police when they get there. I didn't want to, but I was already in a bad enough mood and was ready to give it to her good. The guard in the first place, who's actually a good buddy of mine who sees me in there regularly anyways. Barely know him, but he's really cool. Cut to the police showing up. Karen ran up to them and started panicking, pointing at me. Before I knew it, they didn't even give me a chance to give my side of the story before they put me in cuffs. Luckily, Chad, the guard, not his real name, explained the situation before the cops could arrest me. They ran my ID and a background check. It was clear. They uncuffed me and pulled up an actual photo of the pedo she thought I was. In the file, it even said he was 6'3". I was barely 5'7", and the guy had a light brown beard. I have dark brown, almost black, and a goatee.
No, you can't let him go. He's a criminal. I saw him talking to kids in the GameStop.
I say. He was with his mom, who happened to be a good friend of mine. If you're really that shallow to judge someone on how they look and who they talk to, well, you're just insane. And you ruined my shirt I wore to my grandma's funeral. I will be pressing charges. The police collected her, saying she was acting immature, and apologized to me before taking her out to the car. This still shook me up, and I can almost confirm this is to be the reason why I have severe anxiety and low self-esteem. I was bullied through elementary, middle, and high school because I'm overweight, and now suddenly getting this from a woman in her 50s? She was charged with disturbance, unnecessary accusations, false emergency, and destruction of property, my $75 shirt. In the end, it was satisfying to see her carried off, but it still left me messed up in the head. My anxiety hasn't improved then, but I am seeing a therapist for now. For context, my dad was always the breadwinner of the household and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. But my dad had an accident at work which caused a disc protrusion, which was basically a disc in his spine that had popped out of place. I also was about 13 at the time. As savings dwindled and the hope of my dad going back to his old job seemed to die, we needed to do something fast because of rapidly approaching bills. And he suggested we sell food on the Indian reservation that was about 45 minutes away from my hometown. And so, we did. People were a little hesitant to buy our food since we weren't from the small town, let's call it Bar. And my dad's mother was from Bar, so he technically could be there as he was a part of the tribe. And we met this sweet, older lady, maybe in her late 60s. We will call her Sam. Well, Sam took us with open arms and was sweet and polite to us. We were barely starting out, and at the time she was one of our only customers. We understood we had to use gloves and had a hand-washing station. But one day, Sam exploded. I have no clue if it was just a bad day for her or we just boiled her blood from day one, but, well, she got into a verbal argument with Dad.
Can you guys please go home?
What? Why? Dad asks her.
Because you guys are stealing all of my business.
Your business? You are in a competitive market, Sam.
You're not even from here. Look at your car.
We own a 2012 Nissan, which we are still making payments on to this day.
You're not from here. Go away.
My dad was dumbfounded that such a kind and sweet woman could switch up on us so quickly. If looks could kill, I'd have 12 daggers into my chest, judging by the way she was staring us down. She quickly returned to her car and made a phone call. My dad wasn't intimidated by her at all. Then a policeman drove up, and the pieces came together. I didn't hear what the conversation between my dad and the policeman was, but we left early that day. My dad, clearly angry, explained to us that since we all didn't have a license to sell and a permit, there are special permits and licenses to sell on a reservation. So we all took an online test, which the website was given by the officer, and all of us had passed the test. We even had the permits and licenses laminated to hang them on our ice chests. A few days later we arrived at the bar. Sam is clearly irritated by this and approaches us again.
I thought I told you to go away.
We did go away, but now we are back, and you cannot force us to leave as long as we have our permits and licenses. My dad said, presenting the paperwork to Sam. "Do you have these?" he asks her now. My dad said mockingly, and Sam gave my dad an angry look and walked back to her car and left. Each time she sold while we sold, we would take pictures of her handling food without gloves, without the proper way of heating, and no washing station. We even got a video of her handling money, then proceeded to handle food, which is highly unsanitary. And we submitted it to the health services of the tribe. They were furious. The receptionist had stated that Sam had reported the most people to them. They did the background check and found out she did not have the required licenses and permits. She was then paid a visit by a health inspector. The health inspector deemed her booth unfit for food handling and even fined her for it. Fast forward to next year. At this point I'm 14 and it's summer in Arizona. My dad offers me $10 to stand on a street corner and spin a sign advertising our booth. It's a hit. People take pictures with me and a sign and video me dancing on the side of the road with a sign, giving us more advertising in the long run. And Sam, stopping at the corner in her white Impala, yells at me, "Go home, you whipback spick! Go do that in your hometown!" Then she hit the gas and sped down the road. I had walked back to my parents' booth and told them what she said. They reported it to the police and they took my statement and paid her a visit. Apparently she had a warrant for her arrest and spent 2 weeks in jail. I still help my family out to this day and haven't seen Sam since. I'm also sorry if I get off track a lot or seem redundant. This is my first time writing. This encounter happened about 7 months ago. A note that the kid in this story is the embarrassed kid and the old gentleman is a 60-some-year-old guy. The kid was very polite and sorry, so this story isn't about him. Also, I'm translating this into English, so bear with me. A little backstory. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer of the nasal cavity, stage 2. The tumor was quite large but thankfully benign. Edit. People have pointed out I formulated this wrong. By benign, I wanted to shorten the fact that it still did not spread into other tissue, thus it was still contained, which is what I thought the word meant. I apologize for my gaps in knowledge. Anyways, to get it removed, I first had to undergo aggressive chemotherapy to make it smaller. Thanks to the chemo, I had severe alopecia, hair loss, which made most of my hair and even eyebrows and eyelashes fall out. At some point I had to go bald, but I wore a wig because I didn't want to look like a skinhead / neo-Nazi. I'm 6'4" and pretty muscular, so I thought people would assume. So once, after a long chemo session in the hospital, I took the bus home. There is only one bus that goes from the hospital to where I live, so I took that one only to see it was absolutely packed. I felt really bad thanks to the chemo, so I asked a middle-aged dude to let me sit. He was very understanding and gave me his spot without complaining. If you're reading this, thanks bro. 2 stops later enter the entitled mother. A lovely whale with an I demand a parlay with a CEO haircut and a 12-some-year-old kid. It took her roughly 5 seconds to see the bus was packed. Started looking for a free seat, spotted me, and she started marching towards me. Or in her case, trying to fit in the aisle between the seats while shoving others aside. When I saw her, I knew I was screwed. She then stood next to me and decided to talk to me. And this is the conversation that followed.
"Hey, could you let my kid sit down?"
You mean me?
"Who else?"
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm on my way from the hospital and… She cuts me off and says,
"So are we."
Nonsense. The stop was a few kilometers away from the hospital.
"My boy just broke his leg and we're coming straight from the ER."
Her kid was standing next to her without any support, clearly embarrassed. He's standing next to you completely fine, by the way.
"Look here, Pot.
I'm 21, by the way.
My kid deserves to sit down."
Look, madam. I'm sorry, but I just got back from a chemo session in the hospital and I need to sit down and rest. I then moved my wig a bit to let her see my bald head. The entitled mother then straight up started yelling in my face.
"Stop making excuses and get off the F seat." skinhead piece of trash.
At this point, I was baffled. I didn't know what to say. The kid was trying to make his mother stop, but we had the attention of the whole bus. She then grabbed me and tried to yank me from my seat. I held on tight and thankfully did not fall off. Now, enter the old gentleman, my savior. The old gentleman said, "Will you shut up, you dumb cow?
Who do you think you're talking to?
Stop assaulting other passengers or I will be forced to step in." Also, every dumb moron could see that the dude has cancer.
No, he's just a skinhead.
He's got no eyebrows, you witch. Seems like that really offended the entitled mother because she spun around on a spot and threw a falcon punch in the old gentleman's face. I was shocked and in disbelief. The whole bus was flabbergasted and the kid probably wished he'd never been born. The old gentleman then said something unbelievable and the golden, sweet karma moment followed. The old gentleman said, "Okay, that does it. Harassing passengers on the bus, physical assault against a passenger, and now assaulting an officer? You're in deep trouble, lady." The old gentleman then pulled out a badge and told her to stay where she was. Then he pulled out his phone, called someone and told her she was being arrested. I couldn't believe it. He was a bloody cop. At this point, the entitled mother was as white as a wall. The bus had just come to a stop, so she decided she'd make her run for it, but other passengers blocked her way. She then also got charged with resisting arrest thanks to this. 3 stops later, a police car was waiting for the entitled mother and her kid. The kid told me he was sorry for his mother's behavior, and I felt really sorry for the kid. He wasn't a bad child, but his mother was a hellspawn. The old gentleman then talked to me and asked if I wanted to press charges, to which I gladly said yes, took a statement, and thankfully he was kind enough to let me solve everything on the phone, so I didn't have to come to the police station for questioning. In the end, the entitled mother got some jail time, I think it was a few months, and some community service. I, in return, got a good story to tell and a sweet taste of instant karma. Right now, I'm riding the same bus home, as I just got back home from the hospital after a checkup, which reminded me of this. A friend who's sitting next to me told me I should post it here. He, as much as myself, also couldn't believe that such people existed, but it seems I proved it to him. I should also note that the surgery went well. I was declared cancer-free in November, and my hair is slowly returning. Also, I don't need to wear a wig anymore. My husband, let's call him Chris, 29 male, and I, 26 female, have been together for 7 years, married for 5. We just had our first baby 5 months ago and I'm currently a stay-at-home mom. Every day when our son naps, I am doing laundry, cleaning, and organizing the house. Chris is a journeyman plumber who works 8 hours a day and is off every weekend and doesn't lift a finger unless it's in the garage. Tonight, I asked him if he could please wash 1 bottle for me for the morning, and I will clean the rest when I put the baby down for his first nap tomorrow because I was just too exhausted to do anything else. He said, "Why can't you do it? That's literally your job since I work all day." I was floored. I do everything in the house, work out, pump every 2 hours, and take care of the baby, and I was asking too much just to wash a single bottle? I proceeded to wash all the bottles and go to bed without another word. He comes to bed and asks if I'm mad at him, and I say I'm just disappointed he would think I don't do anything while he's at work. He responds with, whatever. I don't know, am I overreacting? I feel like it was a jerk thing to say to me when I really try so hard to be a good wife and a mother. It's just so overwhelming sometimes. Thank you for any comments and advice. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, "You are not the jerk and you're not overreacting. He's underperforming." Another commenter adds, "Not the jerk, stay-at-home mom is a 24/7 job. A job that's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week is a very standard work schedule. It's not like he's doing 12-hour shifts every day and barely has time to shower and sleep. He can help out a little." A third commenter goes with, "Not the jerk, you're pumping. He should be on bottle duty as a bare minimum. He's refusing to parent. Bottles are part of parenting for this stage. Him working outside the home doesn't negate being a dad. He is being a bad dad and husband. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.